and where they are moving, giving birth to their pigs here in the birthing room, which is where we are today. And I can show you all some of what we're looking at. These pigs are about a day or two old here, and they're just napping. They're kind of hanging out. And what you see here today is actually the mom is in a birthing stall. So these piglets have room to get away from the mom if they want to. So she has a place to stand up and to turn around. She has her food here in the front of the stall, and water as well, that she can have full access to food and water. We also have a heat lamp here that you can see that warms the piglets up, and that's what this little guy is doing, taking a nap underneath the warm heat lamp.
Thanks, Phil. Well, it sounds like a pretty cool place to work. And I know that Casey works in this barn on a day-to-day basis. So tell us a little bit about what Casey does on a daily basis and what some of his coworkers do.
Yeah, sure. So really what Casey does on a daily basis is we have someone that comes in here and they're working with these piglets each day. We check on them. For sows that are actually, or sows which are mother pigs, when they're giving birth, we actually can assist them, right? We watch them, we help make sure that everything is going well. Um, and that would be one of the jobs here on the farm. I told you earlier that these piglets will stay with their mom for about 3 weeks, and then they will leave the farm. So one of the next jobs that would happen after that was that we completely clean the barn and we get it ready for the next litter that will be born here in this stall. So that would be another thing. We have a lot of other things that happen too. We do different processes with the piglets to get them prepared for weaning. They get their vaccinations and other things that we have to do in order to get them ready to have go to the growing barns, which is where you guys will get to see Nathan and his barn. It's where they get to go after they leave here, one of those styles of barns. One of the other jobs here at the farm is, formulating the foods and getting the pigs the proper nutrition that they need. So we have a team that are working on that, where we can help make sure that the piglets are and the sows are getting the right nutrition that they have. We also have team members that are doing daily checks on the animals. They're moving the animals and doing lots of different tasks with the pigs at the farm, whether that be working with the little piglets or working with the big mama sows here at the farm.
Thanks, Phil. So talk to us a little bit about some of the skills that are needed to work on a pig farm or maybe in a mother barn like this one specifically.
Yeah, so like for instance, Casey doesn't have a microphone, but what Casey does on a daily basis is works with his team here at this farm to make sure that everything is going smoothly. So Casey would be a farm manager at this farm, but he has a team of a lot of different kinds of people. We have people that never were around animals before they came here. Some of them may have never actually seen a pig. To working with lots of pigs here at this farm, to we have people that are educated that have went to school, and they have degrees in business or degrees in animal science. I mentioned nutrition. We actually have one that works here that has that kind of a background. So there's lots of opportunities to get involved in agriculture and specifically pig farming here at the farm, regardless of what your background is. And just because you didn't grow up on a farm doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity. In fact, we think that even more so going towards the future, that people that maybe weren't grown up on a farm or don't have that kind of a background are really the future of those of us that are helping create food, whether it's here in animal agriculture, but or else in other types of farming as well.
Yeah, that's great to know, Phil, that you don't necessarily have to have a background in farming to work at some place like this. So for those of you that are just joining us, Phil is a fifth generation farmer. So it's obviously in his background, but he gets to work with a lot of different people with other backgrounds alongside him on the farm. So Phil, that I know that you have a lot of different roles on the farm, and one of those is research. So tell us a little bit about what you do working in research on your farm and maybe how some students could pursue a career like that one day.
Yeah, so we have a really cool team on our farm that works on studying nutrition for animals and specifically for pigs. So when we think of slopping the pigs or feeding them waste, I think it's a really, it's one of my favorite things to explain to people that, the vast majority of pigs don't just eat our leftovers, but rather we are actually formulating their food so that they have proper amounts of protein and energy, vitamins and minerals. So we have a team that is studying those things, and they help us make decisions and changes to those feeds here on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis, where we basically are helping the piglets grow better, be more efficient, and to thrive.
Perfect. So Phil and Casey started out in the shower room and then they walked back into this portion of the barn. So Phil, tell us a little bit about the importance of day one care and what Casey does on a daily basis to take care of those piglets in there.
Absolutely. So, like I mentioned, these piglets here that we were looking at are a few days old. So, what would have happened is when they were born, we would have had Casey and his team walking through here, making sure that all the pigs were born okay, that the mama sow didn't need any help. You can see that she's laying down nursing here. She's not being held down. These bars are actually used so that when she goes to lay down, it gives the little piglets time to get out of the way so she doesn't accidentally lay on one of them. And it's a really cool tool for us to be able to keep the piglets safe, but also give them the opportunity to nurse from the sow whenever they want to. So what you can see now, she had grunted and called them over to have them eat. But we have team members that are going through, making sure each piglet is growing well. They get, like I mentioned, they get a few different vaccinations and shots. Actually, within their first week, they get a shot of iron. Pigs are born with some iron that gets them through the first several days, but they need some iron to continue growing. So an iron shot is something that little piglets get. And then as they get older and they get ready to be weaned, we also do a vaccination to help them be able to be immune to any certain diseases and things that we are targeting, whether that be just basic things that we're trying to make sure that they keep healthy from, or a targeted something that maybe we're trying to avoid them to get. So it's a really different process. We have a veterinarian and consulting veterinarians that help us make those decisions when it comes to what types of things that we do to our pigs, and how we can get to having the best piglet that we can. As you can see on the chart here, they're about 21 days old when they are weaned. So we have each of these piglets will be picked up from the belly from there, and they will be given that vaccination, and then they will be put into the hallway, and that's where they would then go onto a truck, like you see Rob's truck, and you'll talk to Rob here in a little bit. But they'll go on there on a ride to a nursery that would be kind of like Nathan's nursery, that you'll see here in a little bit as well. So there's lots of different pieces and parts that go into it in terms of what kind of jobs there are here on the farm.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like there are a lot of different opportunities there in that barn and across the farm as a whole. How many piglets does a mother pig typically have per litter?
Yeah, so for example, this one that we're looking at here, she had a total of 16 piglets. We ended up nursing off two of them, so that means that we wanted her to only end up with 14, for her to raise 14, and we were able to, within the first day, take those piglets and move them to a different mother pig. And so she has 14 little piglets right now, and uh, but the average born per litter is in that 14 to 16 range.
Perfect. Thank you. Phil, tell us, what is your favorite thing to do at work?
My favorite thing to do. I think my favorite thing to do is to grab one of these little piglets here, and you can hold them. They're really fun to hold, and they're really fun to see as they grow and they get bigger. And that the sow is giving them the nutrition that they need. It's kind of just fun to see the whole process. That's one of my favorite things. What's your favorite thing? Casey likes the big mama sows, is what he said. So he likes working with the bigger animals, and I like working with the smaller ones, which is actually very common. We might work with a little bit of both of them during the day, but we do have people that work specifically with different sizes of pigs too. In which you'll see that at Nathan's nursery as well, where he's focusing on a certain age of animal at that point.
Phil, we have a question from the audience, and they would like to know, are the piglets drinking milk, or what are they doing in there with their mom?
Yes, yes, they are. So they are nursing on the sow. So you can see where they're nuzzling her underline, and this is where they get their milk from. So it is all natural. We are not supplementing the piglets with anything. They are getting 100% of their nutrition from their mama.
That's great to know. So tell us how old a piglet is when they start eating pig feed.
So on our farms, we start to give them a little bit of feed before that 21 days, so they can start to get a taste for that ground feed. Maybe some mischievous piglets will also jump into their mom's feeder, right, and start eating a little bit of that. But we do give them a little bit of that feed as they get started, but towards the end of their time here, so that when they go to the nursery farm, that they are used to that food and they can get off to a good start when they leave their mom.
Another question that just came in the chat is, what breeds do you have there in that barn?
Yes, great question. So these are actually a crossbreed of about 5 or 6 different types of animals. For those that know about piglets, you can tell that these piglets have floppy ears, right? So that's where they're getting a crossbreed of landrace, of large white, Chester white, maybe in their heritage some Berkshire. There's definitely some different types of breeds, mainly from dealing with the landrace, large white, uh, those kind of breeds.
Perfect. Well, we just have a couple more minutes with you here, Phil. For some of our viewers that joined a little bit later, can you talk to us a little bit about the clothes that you and Casey are wearing and why you're wearing those special clothes?
Yeah, so I'm wearing a mask because Casey and I are really close to each other here. But I'll see if you can if I can get it all the way around here. But basically, I'm wearing some blue coveralls. You don't have to wear these. Like, it's not like this is any sort of a special outfit. It's just more of like it's a flexible, comfortable type of workwear that we wear. But some people wear t-shirts. Some people wear um, scrubs, right? So like nurses wear scrubs. You can see Casey has a t-shirt on under him, and we also have some boots. I can turn this around and show you some boots here. Mine's got a little bit of red paint on them, but that is the type of shoes that we wear. And that's just so that we can be safe as we're walking around, but also as we're working with the animals that, we have protection against manure, against the different types of things that are in the farm so we don't slip.
All right, thank you. So if you could give advice to our viewers today who might be interested in getting a job in pig farming, what would your advice be to them?
My advice would be to go for it. It's there's so many opportunities. It's really fun for us to be training people that have no context to agriculture, that don't know about farming. We have lots of people that come to us every year, and that's actually part of Casey's job, is he helps train those people to work with the animals. How do we care for them? How do we interact with them? How do we move them? How do we basically it's our job, it's our responsibility here at this farm to make sure that each animal is cared for. And it's a really cool job, especially for those that like a lot of responsibility, like to be active. There's a lot of opportunities.
Perfect. Well, Phil and Casey, thank you. We really appreciate it. And maybe we'll catch back up with you a little later if there are any other questions at the end of the trip. So
Sounds good.
Now we will hop over to Rob at the transport facility. So Rob, tell us, where are you today and what kind of jobs go on there?
Glad to be back with you again. Like Megan had said, my name's Rob. We're here at one of the washout facilities that Horde owns. just wanted to show you the other end of the trailer of what goes on in the transportation end here. And very, very rewarding end, just as Phil had went over with you on the what goes on raising the pigs and the piglets. Then it's our responsibility to move the pigs from one farm to another, and doing it in the stress-free uh, uh, as much as possible, because that stress does relate over into the pigs and over into the meat later on. So it's a very rewarding job. In my 29 years in the transportation end, I feel on the livestock end has been some of the most rewarding of doing. And but anyways, we also move pigs from the sizes of the weans coming out of the sow farms, from 10 to 15 pounds, and we move pigs up to the sows that you've seen as well, up to 500 pounds. And we'll move them to various farms within their growing period as well. But again, we see here, this one's trailer here has already been prepared. Of course, you can see no pigs has been in there. And so it gets cleaned every time in between the loads from one barn to another. And it gets pressure washed, flushed out, sanitized, and prepared to go on to the next farm then. And as soon as we get done here today, we'll be heading out to their other sow unit that Horde has out in Pennsylvania. So we'll be traveling out there to pick up more piglets to bring back here in Ohio as well.
Thanks, Rob. So when we were with Phil, we talked about the importance of keeping pigs clean so that they live a nice, healthy life. And it sounds like that translates over to the transport side of things as well. So talk to us a little bit about the process that goes into cleaning those trailers. And is that something that you do in your job, or do one of your coworkers do that?
No, we're responsible. We have some drivers here that's unable to go in and clean the trailers out. But as far as in the trucking industry, it is what makes it real nice, because you are able to stay more active instead of just driving down the road all the time. But it is a very active thing to get in there to pressure wash and to flush it out, because again, like you said, for the well-being of the pigs, the main thing is to keep them dry. So, we'll have bags of sawdust that we'll put throughout the trailer to make sure that the pigs are bedded down, make sure that they're dry. And then later on, we'll get into maybe the sides of the trailer of regulating the temperature of keeping it comparison to what's outside and the temperature within inside of the trailer, to make sure that the pigs are kept warm and dry as possible as can be, and make sure that we're not creating too much condensation where it's too hot or too cold, either one. But then over here, as we can see some of our equipment, we have a flush line, which is a 1-inch flush line hooked up to a high rate pump, that we will flush out the trailers, get out majority of the big stuff. And then we have a 4,000 PSI pressure washer, which is heated as well. And then we'll go in and pressure wash the inside and outside of the truck, as well as the underneath of the truck, make sure that we're not carrying anything from one farm to another. And then we have a foaming unit set up here as well, that will go back through the trailer, foam the trailer down, and it's part of the Synergize and of a bleach, about like a 3-to-1 mixture, that will go through this hose here and will foam it all down. Then after this, then the trailer will also go to what is called a bio dry, and we'll put the whole unit within a bio dry, which heats the whole trailer up to 175 degrees. So that bakes out all the bacteria or any kind of diseases that might be within there. And so it bakes, the process usually takes up to 35 to 45 minutes for it to go through that process.
Very interesting. So Rob, we are nearing winter here in Ohio. So talk to us a little bit about how you keep the pigs comfortable in the winter as well as in the summer when you're transporting them from barn to barn.
And yeah, again, like I said, and this is a very, there, you don't see very many trailers set up like this. They're just new. They've started them out in Iowa, in the pig producing area out in Iowa is where they've came from. But here you have more control over the temperature that's in the inside and the outside. And again, these right here, instead of having a whole panel where it shuts the whole side of your trailer down, these are set up in 25% increments. So you can cut off the air that's going into the trailer in the weather of however you can shut it all the way off, and then you can stagger them. But on longer trips, you have to uh, periodically stop and check and see how the pigs are riding. And as we see with inside here, there's different cuts, they call them. And so we want to make sure whatever size pig that we're hauling, that we get the adequate amount, because if not, they pile on top of one another and the end result's not very big or very good. So we want to make sure if we're hauling the smaller pigs, the wean pigs, we can most generally get about 200 pigs per cut within this whole trailer. I can get upwards to 1,800 to 2,000 little piglets in here. Now, if we're going to market size hogs, the 280 to 300 pound hogs, you're looking about 150 to 160. And again, you want to load your trailer accordingly to the temperature and what's going on. And of course, if it's a little if it's really hot, you've got to spread your pigs out. And again, you can control all this. Now, if it's really hot, then what we will do, we'll open it all up. And then more air will flow from the front of the trailer all the way through the trailer. And you can really open this up and it's almost like an air conditioner. And but depending on the temperature, like on a 50-degree day, hauling piglets, we'll shut some of the air off, still let a little bit to flow through to keep them comfortable. But then also, like we've said before, you want to stop and check them out just to see how they're riding. If they're all spread out, you know that they're doing really well. But then if they happen to be on top of one another, that means that they're too cold. So then you have to shut your trailer up a little bit more to shut more wind off of them to get them spread out to where they're not on top of one another.
Very interesting. When you see a livestock hauler going down the road, sometimes you might not think about all of the science that's involved in it and all of the animal care that's involved. So what are some of the other skills that you use on a daily basis in your job role?
Well, again, going back to the trucking industry of learning, first of all, of learning how to drive a truck. You know, you have to be a certified CDL carrier. And so, you know, so there's those various things. So you fall underneath the CDL commercial vehicle laws, and having a license to drive a commercial vehicle, and making sure the safety of it, of going up and down the roads, you know, other various paperwork to take care of, your log books and things of that sort that that one has to also know to make sure that you fall into the guidelines of the DOT and the regulations of the states that you're going through.
So Rob, you said that you have been working in transport for over 20 years. Tell us a little bit about how you got started and if you have any advice for someone who might want to get started in a career like this.
The main thing is if it's something that you want to do, to get with somebody that already does it, and they can point you in the right directions. I know there's some schooling out there to help you to get your license, or just trying to find an individual to also kind of take you under the wing and kind of show you what it is to move one of these up and down the road, and of wanting to go into that area. And as far as myself, of having more of the independence of being outside more. That's kind of the area that I fell in, of not being confined into a place like there was with Phil and Casey. Being inside the barn, I wanted to be out and seeing the other things outside, and not being confined into one certain area all the time.
Definitely. Well, Rob, tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day looks like. It sounds like, you work with farmers, you're responsible for loading and hauling those pigs and making sure they get to their destination safely. But tell us what your typical day looks like.
Yeah, we here at work, we get a weekly schedule that comes through, and it'll point out the barns that we'll be going to and from, and how many pigs that we've got to move from one area to another. And they, are some hours involved, as well as Phil had talked. It's you have some hours involved of getting your pigs and your loads moved, depending on the destination from one barn to another. And so then after that, we'll contact the ones and say, hey, we will be there at a certain time to pick up X amount of pigs that needs to be moved. And so we relate with the farmers there, and work in with their schedule of what's going on as well, and especially this busy time of the year, being with harvest and things, but then still getting what needs to be moved. And then after we do all that, and again, as you see the end result, then we come back, and most generally to get a trailer cleaned up and ready for the next go around usually takes a couple, 3 hours, and depending on how long the pigs were on there, and just how big of a mess it was. But then about 2 or 3 hours of cleaning and preparing for the next day.
So, Rob, what is your favorite part of your job?
Probably the favorite part is just feeding families and feeding people. Not only just taking care of my own family, but making sure each and everyone else also as well has good quality meat on their table, and as well as interacting. If you love to interact with people and interact with the other farmers that you meet along the way, which Nate, you'll be meeting here in a little bit as well. Just some fantastic people that you come across and that you meet and get to interact with, and great having friendship with other fellow farmers along the way as well.
Definitely. So, Rob, would you say that you have to have a background in farming to have a job like this, or is this something that can be trained?
No, this is something that can be trained. Everything else will be on handling the pigs as well. That nature, that's one of those things, the more you're around them, the more that you get accustomed to that, of how to handle them, how to move them. And as we mentioned before, making sure that you don't bring a lot of stress on the pigs, which again, in results, stresses the meat as well. But no, these are things, you don't have to have no background. It just, just, it's one of those things that you just learn as you do it each and every day.
Definitely. Well, Rob, we really appreciate your time. Is there anything else that you want to share with our viewers today?
Yeah, just glad to be with you, and hopefully it'll encourage others to want to jump out in this field as well. It's a very needed area. We definitely lack with drivers and the transportation end as well. So it's a very needed field to be into.
Definitely. Well, thanks, Rob, and we will catch up with you here a little later if there are any additional questions.
Thank you.
All right, so now we will jump over to Nathan. He is in his nursery barn and is excited to talk to us here this afternoon. So Nathan, tell us a little bit about your barn and how you work alongside other employees across the farm like Rob and Phil.
Sure. So my barn, like I said, is a nursery barn. So when the pigs that Phil raises reach about that 3-week-old period, Rob would load them up and bring them to this barn. And I'll show you a picture of them now. But when they come to my barn, I'll keep them about 6 weeks. And I've had these guys and gals for about 2 weeks. So we're looking at about 5-week-old pigs right now. Our relationship with Chores is they birth the pigs. They have the mother barns, and we raise them up, particularly in this barn. We get them for about 6 weeks, which they would be about 55 pounds. Once they leave this barn, they would go to what they call a finishing barn, and that's when they'll get big, that 250, 260 pound pig that Rob was talking about that they haul out. So our work is done for Hordes for raising these pigs. We take care of daily chores, making sure everybody is happy and healthy in here, make sure the water's good, make sure the feed's good. As you can see right there, they're eating in this feeder right here. There are some big feed bins outside this barn where these were automatically feed 7 times a day. And there's the feed lines that drop down to each feeder. They also have drinkers in each pen. And you can see right there, the pigs are getting right up to it. There's just a little button in there they push, and water comes out 24/7 for them. So these guys get to relax and eat and drink all day long and all night long. Now, some of the daily chores that I get to do, besides looking at the feed and the water, just like Phil's barn, when I come into this barn, my outside clothes will stay on one side of the shower. I will take a shower. I will come in and I have barn clothes that just look identical to what Phil has, and boots that stay in this barn. We have a washer and dryer in here, so everything that we wear in this barn stays in this barn. So that's just to help control any germs entering into the barn. That is why we do that. Some of the first things I do when I get into the office is I'll look at the computer to make sure everything's working good. The computer that controls these hog barns, there's a lot of alarm systems out here. So if one of these rooms are a little bit too cold or a little bit too warm, it'll make a phone call to me, and the barn will let me know, hey, something's just not quite right. Since I'm not in this barn all day and all night long, it's a great way to let me know if something's not going right. So when I come into this room, and we have 4 different rooms exactly like this in this barn, one of the first things I look at is air quality. Is it comfortable in here? You know, when we start these pigs, this room is 80 degrees in here, and there's 2 big heaters that are hanging from the ceiling. I'll walk up to one here, but they'll keep this room right at 80 degrees for the first couple weeks when we start these pigs, and it'll slowly back off temperature in there. Now we also have fans on the wall, and you can see that's one of the fans right there. It's got that special little covering there called a louver. So as it gets a little bit warmer in this room and a little bit warmer outside, these fans will start turning on. So if it gets warmer out here, those fans turn on to bring in fresh air from the ceiling, from the little, we call inlets right there. So they're always constantly getting fresh air through this barn. So a big important thing that I do is when I come in here is make sure it's not too much air, that it's chilly or drafty, we want it just as comfortable as can be in here to raise these pigs.
Hey, Nathan, that brings us to a good point. We have a question here. What is in pig feed? And I think that can kind of segue into another question that I have for you. It's harvest season, so maybe you could talk to us a little bit about the pig feed, and then tell us a little bit about what you've been doing lately.
Sure. So pig feed is ground up corn and soybeans and vitamins and minerals. And I got a little bit in my hand here just to show you what it looks like. So right now, this time of year, being a farmer, we are right in the middle of harvest season. So we're out in the fields, we're combining our soybeans and combining all of our corn, so we can feed the animals around the country and around the world. So, for example, these last couple of weeks have been very busy. For example, this morning, we started our day a little after 5 o'clock this morning. We got to the barns, we did our chores, we made sure all these pigs were happy and healthy and the barns were comfortable. And once we got out of the barn, we went right to the field and we started combining corn to take home, to get in the dryers at home to get dried down. And now I'm in this great event we're having here. And when we're done here, I'm going to go right back to the field. We're going to combine some more corn, and we got some ground to work up. And it'll be probably 10, 11 o'clock tonight before we're done. So it gets to be some real long days doing what we do out in the farm. But every minute you just love. It's just fun raising these animals. It's fun growing food out in the field and getting a combine and bringing it back and seeing everything, all the work you've done all year come to completion.
Definitely. So Nathan, you mentioned earlier that you work with Chores as a grower partner, and that allows you to do other things on your farm, like grow those crops. And for some other people, that means having another job alongside of that. So kind of how did you get started in that process, and what are some of the benefits of working with Chores as a grower partner?
So I farmed, we've lived on our family farm. We've had a family farm for my whole life. And for a good part of my career, I was a mechanic at a local John Deere dealer for, right at 17 years. And it just came to a time that it felt like something was missing. And I had known the Horde family through my days at John Deere working on some of their equipment. And I just reached out one day to talk to them, and we ended up in agreement. We built a couple buildings, and that has allowed me to come home to work full time on the farm. It has allowed another one of our partners to come home to work on the farm. My brother still works a full-time job, and he helps out here as much as he can. So it definitely has opened up some avenues to come bring everybody back to the farm to make a living, to raise their families on.
Yeah, definitely. So Nathan, you said that you work on your family's farm, so I'm sure that you work alongside some of your family members. But we actually had a question come in from Pioneer Career and Technology Center before our trip started, and they wanted to know if there are any job opportunities for teenagers on pig farms.
There's all kinds of opportunities for teenagers. For example, our farm, we employ a couple different part-time helps to get this barn ready. So after each group, we'll go through, we'll clean everything, we'll disinfect, we'll make it just like a brand new building again. And then we start these little pigs on, it's called pellet feed. It's just a little higher protein feed to transition them to what I showed you before, the ground up soybeans. And there are other opportunities on just not necessarily a animal agriculture farm, but just a grain growing farm. There's opportunities all over to get a part-time job and transition into a full-time job.
That's great to know, Nathan. So tell us a little bit, if you're in high school and you're interested in getting a job on a pig farm, or maybe even after you graduate high school, what are some of the important skills that you need to have to work in this sort of environment?
So some of the real important skills in life, just not necessarily in this environment, is good communication. Like Rob talked before, when we're moving pigs back and forth and it's in the middle of harvest season, communication is the biggest key factor that we have. We just got to make sure everybody's on the same page, so we're not holding the drivers up and the drivers aren't holding us up. And when they get there, we're ready to unload the pigs or to load them up. But communication will help you out in anything in life. So be good at that. and put some effort into it, and that'll help you out along the way.
Yeah, that's great advice. So tell us a little bit more about how you work with Rob or another member of the transport team to get new loads of pigs in when they're coming from that birthing facility, and then kind of how often do you get those loads? How long are they at your barn before they go to the next barn where they'll grow to their full size?
So when I get our pigs here, like I said, they're about 3 weeks old when we get them. We'll keep them about 6 to 7 weeks. So that means 6 to 7 times a year, we are getting a new group of pigs in here. We are cleaning out the barn or disinfecting and getting ready for the next batch. So the morning that the new pigs start coming here this way, the drivers will call me when they leave the mother barn to let me know, say this is how many I'm bringing and this is about the time I'll be there. They'll also call me when they're about 15, 20 minutes away. So if I'm not at the barn, I know I got to get down there to meet them there, because I don't want to hold their time up and I don't want to leave the pigs on the trailer. I want to get them into the barn and sort it out and get them to some good water and feed as fast as I can.
Definitely. So Nathan, back to when we were talking about harvest season and pig feed, we have a question. And do the crops that you grow, do those then get fed to the pigs, or do you have to get some extra feed from somewhere else?
So the feed for our pigs come from Horde livestock. So like Phil was talking earlier, they have nutritionists that help blend the soybeans and the corn and the vitamins and minerals together. So they can control all their diet from one location. So we can sell our grain. We can bring our grain to Horde livestock for them to grind up. But particularly, I do not keep all my grain on my farm for our animals. That all comes from Horde livestock, so they can have their control of the diet that they receive.
Perfect. Thank you. So what is your favorite part about your job?
My favorite part is getting the new pigs in. I like getting a new bunch of baby pigs in once they leave Phil's barn. It's just real rewarding to get them started off to a good, healthy start. And I get to do that quite a bit here now, 6-7 times a year in this barn. And that is my most favorite part, is getting these little guys and gals started off.
Yeah, definitely. Nathan, could you turn your camera around so that everyone can see you again? And I know that you talked about earlier how it's important for you to take a shower before you for your barn, and it looks like you wear something similar to what Phil wears in the barn.
Yeah, it is. This barn, you leave your clothes, your outside clothes, on one side of the shower, and you will shower in. And we have these barn clothes that are just like what Phil was wearing, these blue coveralls. And like you said, there's nothing special about them. They're just comfortable clothes that you have in the barn, and boots that you wear in here. And like I said, when all the barn clothes, we have a washer and dryer in here. So everything stays in this barn to get cleaned and dried and worn in here.
Perfect. So our viewers today are middle schoolers and high schoolers, and they're kind of around that age where they might be thinking about their next steps once they graduate. So if they're interested in working on a pig farm or another type of farm in Ohio, what advice would you give to them?
One, we'll welcome you at any farm in Ohio to have you. If you have any kind of desire, whether you have farming background or not, that doesn't matter, because we can teach and you can learn. All it takes is the ambition, and if you got the desire to do it, go for it. We made some big decisions in our family farm here years ago to get in these pigs in partnership with Phil and them, and we had a good plan and we just went for it, and it has worked out. So don't doubt yourself and just do it.
All right. Thanks, Nathan. Is there anything else that you want to share with our viewers today?
And just thank you for everybody giving me the opportunity to show you what I get to do. on a pig farm in northwestern Ohio.
All right, thanks, Nathan. We really appreciate it. Well, if there are any other questions, we would welcome them either in the Zoom comments box or on the Facebook comments feed. And you can direct those to any of our guests here today, and they would be happy to answer them. Phil and Casey, if you're still with us, we would love another shot of those baby piglets while we wait for any other comments to come in. Oops, sorry. I didn't realize you left.
Hey, that's okay. Everyone can watch how I get there, I guess. So.
Yeah, that's great.
Nothing to hide here.
And Rob, if you're still with us, if there's anything else that you would like to say to our speakers before we end our trip, or just say hello again, that's fine too.
Yeah, just as Nate had shared as well, just thankful to be able to share what goes on, and just thankful to be able to encourage kids as well, and even adults that may be listening that would like to have a career change or something different in life. We just glad to be part of it. Hopefully something was said or done that help you, to encourage you to kind of lean this way to help provide for America.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Rob. And that leads me to a great point. We talked a lot about getting young people involved on pig farms, but there are job openings on pig farms in Ohio for people of all ages and experience levels. If you want to learn more about that, you can actually visit ohioporkcareers.org, and there are actually some job openings at Ford Family Farms if any of you are interested in applying. Looks like Phil is back in there with those piglets. And I actually have another question for Phil that just came in the chat box. What are some of the benefits of working on a pig farm full-time?
Benefits of working. Well, I think working with animals is super fun. So that's a really good benefit. In terms of actual benefits you get as a team member, many people provide paid time off, and you get some vacation days and different types of benefits when it comes to actually being a team member and working. So I would encourage everyone to check that out when they look at applying at different farms, what kind of benefits that they can have. But I would say one of the main benefits is getting to work with great people and good little piglets every day.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I think that takes care of all of our questions that we have here in the chat box. So just want to, again, thank everyone for joining us today, and thank all of our farmers for taking time out of their days to help us learn a little bit more about pig farming and the job opportunities that are out there. So if all of you would like to say a quick goodbye, and we just thank you again.
Hi, everyone.
See you on down the road.
And we do have some upcoming virtual field trips you'll see here on the screen. We have some upcoming elementary virtual field trips, as well as another middle and high school career trip that will actually be right back here at Ford Family Farms. And some of those elementary trips will be at some of our other farms across the state. So we encourage you to visit our website to learn more about those if you're interested in attending. And thank you again for joining us today.